Let me ask you a question. Do you believe people are just born with talent? That some individuals simply pop out of the womb destined for greatness, while the rest of us are left to play catch-up? That's a myth. And from a Stoic perspective, it's one of the most dangerous myths we can believe. Because the truth is, greatness isn't handed out at birth. It's forged through effort, discipline, and the way we choose to respond to challenges. Think about it. If talent were truly fixed, if success was predetermined, then why even bother trying? Why practice? Why study? Why push yourself, if only the gifted are meant to win? The Stoics completely rejected that kind of thinking. They believed that the real advantage in life doesn't come from external gifts like wealth, beauty, or even intelligence. It comes from what's inside us, our perception, our effort, and our choices in the face of difficulty. Epictetus, born a slave, had no natural advantages in life. But his clarity of thought, his self-discipline, and his persistence in philosophy made him one of the most respected teachers in history. That's not talent, that's resilience. The Stoics taught that consistent effort is the true path to excellence. It's not about who runs the fastest once. It's about who shows up to run every day, rain or shine. Seneca wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In other words, fortune may give you a chance, but only your effort makes you ready to take it. This is why people who rely on natural talent often fade over time. Talent without effort is like a sword left to rust. But steady practice, even if it begins with weakness, sharpens into strength. Let's look at a modern example, Michael Jordan. Today, he's remembered as one of the greatest athletes in history. But did you know he was cut from his high school basketball team? Coaches thought he wasn't good enough. If success depended only on natural talent, his story would have ended right there. Instead, Jordan went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. Then he made a choice to outwork everyone. Day after day, year after year, he practiced relentlessly, not because he was born to be great, but because he built greatness through effort. That's Stoic resilience in action. He didn't control what others thought of him, but he controlled his response. And that response shaped his destiny. Let's go deeper. Have you ever said to yourself, "I'm just not good at this," and left it at that? That's what psychologists call a fixed mindset, the belief that your abilities are set in stone, like unchangeable DNA. But what if, instead of saying, "I can't do this," you added just two little words? Not yet. Suddenly, failure isn't permanent. It's just part of the process. That shift from fixed to growth is powerful. And when we look at it through a Stoic lens, it becomes life-changing. A fixed mindset says, "I failed, therefore I'm not capable." A growth mindset says, "I failed, but I'm learning." Now, the Stoics didn't use this exact language, but they lived the principle every day. Epictetus, for example, couldn't control the fact that he was born into slavery. That was outside his control. But what he could control was his effort, his study of philosophy, his discipline, his resilience. Over time, those efforts transformed him into one of the greatest Stoic teachers of all time. That's growth mindset in action, accepting current limits without despair while focusing fully on the effort to improve. So, how do we train ourselves to think this way? Let's make it practical. Reframe failure. Instead of saying, "I failed at this project," say, "This project taught me what doesn't work. Now I know more than I did before." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Seek discomfort. Challenge yourself to try things you're not immediately good at, cooking a new recipe, learning a skill, speaking in front of others. Each stumble is a chance to grow, not a reason to quit. Detach from ego. The Stoics warned against pride in outcomes. Instead of attaching your identity to success, attach it to effort. Did you give your best? Did you show up fully? That's what matters. Let me give you a real-world story. J.K. Rowling, before becoming the author of Harry Potter, was rejected by 12 different publishers. A fixed mindset would have said, "I'm just not cut out for this." But Rowling reframed each rejection as part of her journey. She kept improving, kept submitting, and eventually, the same story that was dismissed over and over became one of the most successful book series in history. That's not just persistence, that's Stoic acceptance. She couldn't control the rejection letters, but she could control her effort to keep writing. And that choice changed her life. The Stoics believed true fulfillment comes not from endless hustle, but from living with reason, virtue, and alignment to a clear why. Purpose is what transforms the grind into driven action. It's what makes struggle meaningful instead of meaningless. Motivation that comes from hype or quick wins burns out fast. But when you know your why, your motivation becomes almost unbreakable. The Stoics saw this as the ultimate source of resilience. Marcus Aurelius, burdened with the responsibility of ruling an empire, still woke up each day with a clear reminder: live according to reason and virtue, not pleasure or ego. That gave him purpose beyond the throne, beyond luxury, beyond distraction. Purpose fuels endurance. Without it, every obstacle feels like a dead end. With it, every obstacle becomes part of the journey. So, how do you find this deeper purpose for yourself? Let's make it practical. Ask the Stoic question: what truly depends on me? The Stoics drew a line between what's in our control and what isn't. Purpose starts where your control begins, in your choices, your actions, your values. Clarify core values. Write down what you stand for. Is it integrity, creativity, service, growth? Strip away external pressures and ask, what virtues would I want people to remember me for? Align actions with values. Once you know your core values, test your daily actions against them. If you say you value health but neglect your body, there's a disconnect. If you value kindness but gossip daily, you're straying from purpose. Discard distractions. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, asking, what if this comfort was taken away? It trains you to focus less on external rewards and more on living your values, regardless of circumstance. Let's take a real example. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he described how those who survived the horrors of concentration camps weren't the strongest or smartest, but often those with the clearest sense of purpose. Frankl himself survived by holding on to his purpose, to one day teach the world about the psychology of meaning. That vision kept him alive through starvation, brutality, and despair. This mirrors Stoic resilience perfectly. The camps stripped away every external comfort, but Frankl's why could not be taken from him. And when he emerged, he used that purpose to impact millions. His story proves a timeless truth. When you live by a purpose rooted in values, you can endure almost anything. Here's a truth that might surprise you. The biggest enemy of your growth isn't failure, it's perfection. We often wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect confidence before taking a step forward. But the Stoics would say, you don't control perfect conditions. You only control the action in front of you. And that's where the 1% rule comes in. Small, consistent steps, even imperfect ones, compound into exponential gains over time. That's how real progress is built. Think of it like this. If you get 1% better every day in a year, you're not just 365% better. The math of compounding means you'll be almost 38 times better than where you started. This isn't about talent or speed. Some people may learn faster, but the Stoics remind us, discipline outlasts talent. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In other words, showing up every day prepares you for success when your moment comes. Let's take an example, going to the gym. If you do one intense, perfect workout once a month, you won't see much change. But if you do short, consistent workouts 3 times a week, the results compound. The same applies to your career, your studies, your relationships. Progress is not about occasional perfection, but about daily persistence. So why don't we act? Because we're afraid of imperfection. We tell ourselves, "I'll start when I'm ready." But the Stoics flip this idea. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste the rest of your life wondering what a good man should be. Be one." The point? Stop thinking. Start acting. The Stoic principle is clear. Focus on what's in your control, your action right now. You can't control how others succeed. You can't control future outcomes, but you can control the next step. Here's a relatable example, writing. If you want to write a book, but you're waiting until you feel inspired or until the perfect idea comes, you'll never write. But if you write 200 words every day, even messy ones, in a year, you'll have a complete draft. Imperfect action beats perfect hesitation. Here's your challenge. Today, pick one thing you've been overthinking. Instead of planning the perfect approach, do the smallest version of it right now. Want to get fit? Do 10 push-ups. Want to learn a language? Open an app and practice for 5 minutes. Want to start a business? Write down one idea or send one email. It doesn't matter how small it feels.
The goal is to start and to keep showing up, because in the end, the Stoics teach us that the true differentiator isn't talent, speed, or perfection. It's discipline. It's the ability to act in the present moment, again and again, without being distracted by the illusion of perfect conditions. Perfection delays, action compounds, and over time, consistent small steps lead to extraordinary results.